What's going on, guys? Metal Music Junkie here, aka John Browning. And today, this is going to be part 3 of the series I've been doing, where I go through my favorite rock and metal albums of each year by decade. Monday, I did the 70s. Yesterday, I did the 80s, and now we're in the 90s. Not gonna lie, this list was probably the hardest one I did out of this whole series so far. Because in my opinion, the 90s is the best decade of music by far. So, without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so we're in 1990. In my opinion, the 90s don't officially start till 1991. But we will get to that. Yeah, a lot of great albums that came out in 1990. Pantera, Cowboys from Hell, Judas Priest, Painkiller, Slayer, Seasons in the Abyss, Anthrax, Persistence of Time, Creator, Coma of Souls, Testament, Souls of Black, Alice in Chains, Facelift. God, I can go on. But, in my opinion, this is the best album of 1990. So, my favorite album of 1990 is Rust in Peace by Megadeth. This is one of the few albums I would consider a 10 out of 10. I mean, every song on here is fucking amazing. Holy Wars, Hangar 18, two of my favorite Megadeth songs, and Tornado Souls. Take No Prisoners, Five Magics, Poison Was the Cure, Lucretia, Dawn Patrol, nice bass solo, and Rust in Peace Polaris. So, my favorite album of 1990, Rust in Peace by Megadeth. Alright, now we're in 1991. In my opinion, might be the greatest year in music. I'll have to think about that, but they had a lot of great albums that came out that year. Soundgarden, Bad Motorfinger, Metallica's Black Album, Sepultura, Arise, Cannibal Corpse, Butchered at Birth, Death, Human, Ozzy Osbourne, No More Tears. So many good albums came out that year. But in my opinion, you cannot talk about music from 1991 without talking about this album. So, my favorite album of 1991 is Nirvana's Nevermind. I mean, I'm not even going to say too much about this album. This album, fucking amazing. I mean, this literally changed rock music, like, forever. Really has not been the same since Nirvana put out Nevermind. I could probably go the rest of my life without hearing Smells Like Teen Spirit ever again, but I cannot deny that's a great song. In Bloom, Come As You Are, Breed, Lithium, Poly, Territorial Pissings, Drain You, Lounge Act, Stay Away, On a Plane, Something in the Way. Fucking amazing album. So, my favorite album of 1991, Nirvana Nevermind. Alright, now we're in 1992. Another amazing year in music. I mean, so many good albums. Megadeth, Countdown to Extinction, Stone Temple Pilots, Core, Cannibal Corpse, Tomb of the Mutilated, Deicide, Legion, Helmet, Meantime, Faith No More, Angel Dust, the Opiate EP from Tool. And I had a hard time picking between two albums. The one album I almost went with was Alice in Chains' Dirt. And you're probably like, why are you not going to include it? I mean, I love Alice in Chains' Dirt. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. My favorite grunge album of all time by my all-time favorite grunge band. But I gotta go with this. The bias kicked in for me. This is my third favorite band of all time. And my favorite album by them, and also one of my favorite albums of all time. So, my favorite album of 1992 is Vulgar Display of Power by Pantera. Now, even though this is my favorite Pantera album, this is actually the one I don't listen to that much. Maybe it's the burnout factor, but this is still my favorite. I actually listened to Far Beyond Driven and Great Southern Trendkill more. But it's a fucking great album. I mean, every Mouth for War, New Level. I can go the rest of my life without hearing Walk ever again, but it's a fucking amazing song. Fucking Hostile, This Love, Rise, No Good, Attack the Radical, Live in a Hole, Regular People, By Demons Be Driven, Hallowed. This is a fucking amazing album, and one of my favorite albums ever. So, my favorite album of 1992, Vulgar Display of Power by Pantera. Alright, 1993, another great year in music. You had Nirvana, In Utero, Morbid Angel, Covenant, Death, Individual Thought Patterns, Primus, Pork Soda. So many good albums came out that year, and I actually had a hard time picking between this two. It was either Tools Undertow, amazing debut, Typo Negative, Bloody Kisses, another great album, and like I mentioned, Nirvana, In Utero. But what I end up going with might be a controversial choice for some people. So, my favorite album of 1993 is Chaos AD by Sepultura. Now you're probably like, what the fuck? You chose Chaos AD? Man, you're a fucking poser for picking this. My response is, shut the fuck up. That's my personal opinion. But also, who the fuck cares? Now, do I prefer the thrash stuff like Arise and Beneath the Remains? Yeah, I prefer it, but this is a fucking amazing album too. And I actually love Roots as well. Yeah, fight me. And this was actually one of the albums that got me into Sepultura. I mean, another great album. Refuse, Resist, Territory, Slave New World, Amen, Propaganda, Biotech is Godzilla, Nomad, We Who Are Not As Others, Manifest, The Hunt, Clench Fist. Fucking amazing album. And actually, this is a special edition vinyl that comes with bonus tracks. Also, my copy of Beneath the Remains is also like that as well. So yeah, this is a cool vinyl pressing of this. So, my favorite album of 1993, Chaos AD by Sepultura. Alright, now we're in 1994, another one of the greatest years in music. So many fantastic albums came out that year. Pantera, Far Beyond Driven, Acid Bath, When the Kite Stream Pops, Soundgarden, Super Unknown, Stone Temple Pilots, Purple, Cannibal Corpse, The Bleeding. Oh my god, I can go on. Obituary, World Demise. I mean, Jesus. Oh, Helmet, Betty, I can go on. One of these days, I'll probably do my top favorite albums of each year for some people, like just separated by year. But in my opinion, this one right here, this is the only logical choice for me for the best album of 1994. So my favorite album of 1994 is the self-titled Korn album. In my opinion, this changed. If Black Sabbath invented metal, and then Metallica and Pantera and all that, this kind of reinvented metal. Because, you know, back in the mid-90s, around when this came out, metal, not really on a downward, it was kind of on a downward slope. I mean, Pantera, Metallica, Megadeth, the Big Four, they were all doing great. And obviously some of the alternative metal bands, like Rage and Faith No More, they were doing great as well, but it was kind of on a downward slope. Not much, but a little bit. But when Korn and all the new metal bands started popping up, this kind of reignited it, in my opinion. And new metal is not a dirty word to me. I fucking love new metal. I grew up with it, so not a dirty word to me. But this is my favorite Korn album. I mean, every song's great. Blind, Balton, Need To, Clown, Divine. The one song that has the word that that YouTube will not allow me to say. Chutes and Ladders, Predictable, Fake, Lies, Helmet in the Bush, Daddy. This is a fucking great album. So, my favorite album of 1994, the self-titled Korn album. Alright, now we're in 1995. Not as good as some of the other years in the 90s, but it was still a really good year. You had Fear Factory, Demanufacture. That one I almost included on the list. Death Symbolic, another one. At the Gates, Slaughter of the Soul. Morbid Angel, Domination. Faith No More, King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. But I decided to go with this. So, my favorite album of 1995 is White Zombie. Astro Creep 2000, Songs of Love, Destruction, and Other Synthetic Delusions of the Electric Head. That is a mouthful. In my opinion, this is the best thing Rob Zombie has ever did. I love Last Exorcisto, the album before that, and I like some of the solo stuff, but this is peak Rob Zombie right here. Fucking great album. You have Electric Head Part 1 and 2, Supercharger Heaven, Real Solution number 9, Creature of the Wheel, iZombie, More Human Than Human, Blood, Milk, and Sky, Blur the Technicolor, Blastorama. It's just a fantastic album. So, my favorite album of 1995, Astro Creep 2000 by White Zombie. Now we're in 1996. Another fantastic year in music. Soundgarden, Down the Upside, Stone Temple Pilots, Tiny Music, Songs from the Vatican Gift Shop, Cannibal Corpse, Vile, Marilyn Manson, Antichrist Superstar. So many great albums came out that year. But in my opinion, when I thought the best album in 1996, this had to be one of them. So, my favorite album of 1996 is Aniema, or Aniema by Tool, however you say it, it's been pronounced. It's been pronounced many different ways. If you want to argue about it, fuck you, I don't care. I mean, for a long time, this was my favorite Tool album, but it's kind of, Lateralis has kind of overtaken that, but this is still a fucking great album. I mean, it's got some of their best songs on there. Stinkfist, Eulogy, H, 46 and 2, Hooker with a Penis, Jimmy, Push It, Aniema, Third Eye. It's a fucking perfect album. So, my favorite album of 1996, Aniema by Tool. Alright, so now we're in 1997. Not as good as, kind of like 1995, not a great year, but it was still a good year nonetheless. You had Rammstein, Sehnsucht, Radiohead, OK Computer, just to name a few, but I decided to go with this. My favorite album of 1997 is Around the Fur by Deftones. And to me, this was a step up from their debut, Adrenaline, that came out in 95. And that was a great album. But this was even better. I could probably go the rest of my life without hearing My Own Summer Shove It ever again. But it is a great song. You got Labia, Mascara, the title track, Rickets, one of my all-time favorite Deftones songs, Be Quiet and Drive, Lotion, The Flu, Head Up, which features Max Cavalera from Sepultura, and actually kind of predates Soulfly, because in the song, Max screams out, Soulfly! And MX, which has the bonus track, Demone. Yeah, this is a fucking perfect album. So, my favorite album of 1997, Around the Fur by Deftones. Alright, now we're in 1998. This one was actually kind of hard, even though it's not one of my favorite years in music. It was still a good year nonetheless. You had Korn, Follow the Leader, Marilyn Manson, Mechanical Animals, Rob Zombie, Hellbilly Deluxe. I kind of had a hard time. If you would have asked me this question like 4 years ago, I would have said System of a Down's Debut, and I love that album. It's one of my favorite albums by them. But I decided to choose this album. Now, I've always liked this album, and I've always loved this band, but this has really risen in the rankings for me as a favorite of mine. So, my favorite album of 1998 is The Sound of Perseverance by Def. If this is how you end a career right here, here it is. And actually, Fun fact about this one, Symbolic was originally supposed to be the last Death album. So Chuck recorded this album, and it was originally going to be a Control Denied album, but something happened, so they ended up making it into a Death album, and it's a fucking great album. I mean, you got Scavenger of Human Sorrow, Bite the Pain, Spirit Crusher, Story to Tell, Flesh and the Power It Holds, Voice of the Soul, God. To Forgive is to Suffer with a Moment of Clarity. And I even love the cover of Painkiller on there. So, my favorite album of 1998, The Sound of Perseverance by Death. And finally, we're at the end of the 90s, 1999. A great year in music. You had Korn, Issues, Static X, Wisconsin Death Trip, Dillinger Escape Plan, Calculating Infinity. I mean, I can go on. So it was a fucking great year for music. But when I thought about albums of 1999, Rage Against the Machine, Battle of Los Angeles, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Californication. But as I was saying, what I think of albums of 1999, this is the first one that comes to mind. So, my favorite album of 1999 is the first Slipknot album, the self-titled. Now, this is not like the original track listing. I mean, you can read that as not the original track listing. This is the one I grew up with, so I didn't grow up with Frail Limb Nursery or Purity, although those are good songs. I grew up with the one without those songs, so I'm just going to name off the songs from this. Sick, Eyeless, Wait and Bleed, Surfacing, Jesus, Spit It Out, Tattered and Torn, Me Inside, Liberate, Prosthetics, No Life, Deluded, Only One, Scissors. I mean, this is a fucking perfect album. And it really kicked off a great career for them. So, my favorite album of 1999, the self-titled Slipknot album. Alright, that is it for this video. The next video I do, I'll be going over albums from the 2000s. So, like, comment, subscribe, don't gatekeep, treat the others the way you want to be treated, and rock on.